Books. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I remember the time in my life when I was told you will never be able to physically read all the books in the world. And I was like crushed because I loved books when I was younger. I wanted to be a librarian before I wanted to be an actor. And I have been a reader since I was a kid. I really want to read more as an adult, but guys, it is hard. Like, I read for work, I read scripts a lot, and I'm just like constantly reading articles or whatever. Like, it just feels like I'm always reading. And so sometimes at the end of the day, I'm also like, when do people watch shows? You're working full time plus overtime, you're reading for work all the time, and then at the end of the day, you have to watch shows to catch up because you're in the entertainment industry and you have to know what's happening. Anyway, that's a complaint for another day. These are books that have really shaped my acting process over the years. And so I wanted to share them with you because I think some of them are kind of unconventional. Some of them probably will be like, duh, that's what everybody says. So we're gonna look at some of the books that are here behind me. I think all of them actually. And I'm gonna start with the books that are maybe more on the obvious actor side, and then we'll move into the ones that are maybe a little less obvious. So the first one is An Actor Adrift. Got it used, by Yoshi Oida. He also has another one called An Actor's Tricks, and there's also another one called The Invisible Actor that was written not by him but about him, and I think about like working with him. We are very enmeshed in like the Western form of acting, and what I really loved about this, first of all, like I'm Japanese, and reading more about a Japanese actor encountering Western theater was just fascinating to me, culturally speaking, because I'm so far away from my cultural roots as a Japanese American. But also, I just think there's something about seeing the art form that you love so much through somebody else's lens that's just really fascinating. So what this book specifically gave me is, this is going to sound weird, but the permission to just taste something. Yoshi Oida talks about when he would direct actors that he would say, just taste the direction. And I think that there's something really significant about that for actors, because we're taught in Western schools so much to commit to ideas, commit to direction, commit to your impulses. And the idea that you could just taste something feels pretty radical. You don't have to commit to it right away. You can just experiment with how it makes you feel. I would highly recommend this book and all of his books. I think that they're just such incredible extra reading for actors within the Western sphere. The next one is Free Play by Steven Nachmanovich. I have admittedly only read this once, so I was just like, did I say his name right? I did. But it's a really incredible book. As you can see, I have bookmarked things. But what I really liked about it was there's one part in this book where he talks about how a violinist never actually hits the note. And that was like mind-blowing for me. I play the piano. This is a piano behind me. I play the piano. You hit that note. You know what I mean? You hit it or you don't hit it. Pianissimo or forte. Let's go. So the idea that he talks about a violinist doesn't hit the note, they're constantly dancing around it, was wild to me, and again liberating in the sense that as actors I think we feel like we have to hit a note, sink into it, and realize its fullness in every moment. And he was essentially saying, no. In fact, the beautiful music of the violin that we love so much is actually not a violinist hitting the note. It's just them dancing with it. Okay, so next we have something kind of controversial, which is almost like opposition research for actors. True and False by David Mamet. No, I do not own this book. Yes, this is a library book. But I think it's a really important read. I will say, like, reading this book, it does seem pretty evident that David Mamet isn't like, oh my God, actors are the best. But I think what's really interesting about this is what he keys into on some level or another is that the actor's experience and the audience's experience are often two very different things. He tells a story of or he mentions how actors after a show will come up to him and be like, it was different tonight, it was off tonight. And he's like, felt the same to me. And I think there's something really, really important about that, honestly, is that as actors, I think so often, I can speak for myself here, I expect the experience of acting to feel the same as the audience experience of receiving the acting, and that is not the same thing. My experience on stage or in front of the camera is not the same as the audience's experience receiving. And believing as actors that we are like up there to just feel and be and have this like incredible experience. I think that can actually stand in the way of us doing this art form and having longevity in the arts because it's so stressful. Making Movies by Sidney Lumet, I think it's just good to like see the history of this art form. And there's another one, The Fervent Years, that I've wanted to read and I haven't gotten to it yet, not the whole thing. But what this really showed me was the whole process, how it's changed, but also how all the different parts of this process that as an actor we don't maybe think about. It's also gotten me thinking a lot about how pre-production has changed, because obviously shooting on film in Sidney Lumet's time, and they were doing things like renting out space and taping the set onto the floor so that they could block it. We don't even get rehearsals sometimes nowadays. Back then they were far more vital. So I think it's both a wonderful time capsule and also proof of how small a part of the process you are as an actor. And I think knowing history is important. And I also think knowing how you fit into the fabric of this industry, super important, worth a read. The next book is Screenplay by Sid Field. And this is, again, just one of those like know how the process works as an actor. It's good to see how different parts of this industry function and the methodologies and practices behind them. But added bonus, this is how my husband and I outline scripts, and it's how I outline scripts that I work on for myself as well. He has a note card system in here that I found incredibly valuable. But also, I think it's just good to know how stories are crafted, because as actors, it can feel like it's our job to put the content and structure into a piece, but it's not, right? Like, we fill the container of the words and we bring them into embodiment with our art, but they write it, they structure it. So the more you can know about the way that different parts of this industry work, the better. I've tried with different methodologies of writing and outlining, like Save the Cat, Hero's Journey, but the one that is stuck is this one, honestly. And I think it's because it feels free enough. I don't feel constrained by a system or structure, and I feel like I can explore what I write a little bit more freely with his note card system. Now we're getting into the like tangentially connected to the process and practice of acting, but not acting like process nonfiction books. So we're getting to the more like the fiction / weird area. So my favorite play of all times, and don't judge me, is 2 Rooms by Lee Blessing. I have literally read it so much that the title page has fallen off. This play really, I think it's important as you are exploring your art to find like soulmate pieces and pieces that when you read them, something in you just lights up in a very deep and meaningful way, because it doesn't always happen with what we're working on. And so if you find something that lights up your soul, that's such a great guidepost, right? And that was kind of this play for me. Is I read it and went, oof, I've been waiting for you for a while. The other thing I really like about this is sort of I don't want to ruin it. Read it. There's a monologue that one of the characters has at the end, or a bit of dialogue that is just, and no, it's not Michael. Before you read it, it's not Michael, it's Lainey. She has some lines in the last scene that, worth a read. So the next book I wanted to talk about, I sadly don't have. I think I lent it to somebody and I just like, I cannot find it. But I'll put a picture up of it. It's The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. A lot of people know it because it was made into an animated feature in the 80s. But the book itself is gorgeous. It's fantasy, but it pokes fun at the genre in a lot of beautiful ways. It's short, don't worry, you can get through it in like a week, maybe. But what I love about it is it shows how like inconsistent and not how we'd expect things to be. Like, reality is not what we expect. Emotions are not what we expect. There's multiple moments throughout the script where it's like, you know, this character wanted to be upset, but her nose wouldn't agree with her. And as an actor, I think that those jagged edges of humanity are really interesting to explore. There's some really incredible nuggets that I continue to take from it. And if you do read it, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd chapter, which is on this carnival, this like night circus, is the moral of that chapter. I can't, it's so good. The last line of that chapter will change your life. Okay, this is another one, The Once and Future King by T.H. White. It's beat up because I've read it so many times. I love this book. She's a beast. She's huge. Follows the life of Arthur from when he was a kid. And I don't know, I think that with fiction, it's just one of those things where if it gets you to ask interesting questions, you're reading the right book, right? And this is one that I've come back to consistently because for some reason the questions that I think arise from the King Arthur myth are things that line up very closely with what I'm curious about as a human being, and so I reread it a lot. Now we're getting into the weird ones. Insurrection by Peter Rollins. Peter Rollins was my entry point into learning more about philosophy as someone who, from the age of about 10, grew up in the church and had a lot of issues and questions. I found Peter Rollins to be super, super helpful. And what I like about this book and what it really helped me do was ask very challenging questions that feel a little dangerous. And to do it in a sort of structured and safe way that made me feel seen and helped me explore things deeper that I had been wondering about for a long time. So help me process my fear, help me ask dangerous questions. Really, really recommend this book. Okay, and the last one, I feel like we're going the opposite direction of the one before. A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. This is a short read, and if you haven't, it is so worth it. This was written, these are basically journals that C.S. Lewis wrote after his wife died. The incredible thing about the transparency of I love C.S. Lewis as a writer, but this to me feels like one of the most personal and transparent things he's ever written. I mean, clearly like journals, right? But what's sort of heartbreaking about it is he and his wife had somewhat believed that she would be healed of her cancer, and then she wasn't, and she passed. And they had a very short time together because they met later in life. To read a man processing not only his grief, but potentially the loss of his faith it helped me root deeper into the experiences I was having in my life of grief and exploration and questioning. So I really, really recommend it. So there you go. Those are some books that I recommend as an actor. They kind of run the gamut, and there are so many more I could recommend. But I think my overall like theme of all of these are, I think as an actor, one of the most important skills you can have is curiosity and a desire to explore. And so these books, the ones that I've showed you today, are all books that I feel like really encourage exploration and curiosity. And instead of coming at these books with I'm right, let's see if this book agrees with me, I think it's better to come at these books from a perspective of let me step into this person's shoes and understand a different way of seeing things. And let me ask, is this right? Could this be right too? Could they all be right? Hopefully these are good jumping off points for you as artists, whether you're actors or not. If you have any book recommendations, pop them in the comments below. But yeah, as a little peek into my mind as a lifelong reader. So thanks for joining me, and follow along for more. My cats really want in this video, so. Girl. No, not right now. It's not time. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, do you want to sit on me? I didn't think so.